Hello, I've got an important message for you before I launch into this video, and the message is that you're actually watching this video on the wrong YouTube channel. The Scottish Family Party has got two YouTube channels, one of them where we put all of our main content, and this one that we had to use for election adverts for various reasons which I won't bore you with. But basically our main content won't go onto this channel. So I assume if you've subscribed, you're wanting to keep up with the Scottish Family Party content in the future. But in order to do that, you need to subscribe to our main channel, and there's a link below this video. There's a link in the description. So if you just go to that right now, give that a click, subscribe on the main Scottish Family Party YouTube channel, and then you'll be able to keep up with all our content going forward. Right, on to the election review. Thanks. So, how did we do? The election results are in. Well, the first thing to say is we haven't achieved our target of getting MSPs elected into the Scottish Parliament. That's what we want to do. We're not a pressure group disguised as a political party. That is our ultimate objective. We haven't managed it this time, but we will keep going until we do. Right, how about the results this time then? So on the results day, the results started coming through. And first of all, we got the constituency results. We had 7 constituency candidates. And we're very pleased with those results. So averaging about 400 votes per constituency. On previous records, back from 2019, we were in the election then, we were getting about probably 200 votes per constituency on average. So that was a pretty impressive increase, more than 1% of the vote in most of the constituencies where we stood. So we were very happy with that, quite buoyant. And assuming, as we always had done, that the Scottish Family Party is really geared towards the list vote. So the reason we have candidates in constituencies is it's mainly to raise the profile of the party, and people become aware of the party, then actually they vote for it with their list vote. If they vote in the constituency, that's brilliant, but the most important thing is vote on the list. So we're thinking if we're averaging about 400 in constituencies, what are we going to get on the list? This is going to be pretty good. Because we were assuming that it worked something like this. So there's all the people who vote for you on the regional list, and some of those people also vote for you in the constituency. So you get your constituency results and you assume the regional vote is going to be higher. But when we saw the first one, the first regional total for a constituency, we were very surprised to see it was actually lower. So in other words, people had voted for the Scottish Family Party with their first vote, but not with their second vote. So how did that happen? So there's two possibilities. One might be people think, oh, the SNP, for example, they're going to win in any case. So I'll vote for the Scottish Family Party because it's not going to make any difference to the results. So Scottish Family Party in the constituency, but on the regional list, some people might have thought something like, oh, but I need to vote Conservative to try and get Unionist MSPs into the Parliament, or some equivalent with other parties, that sort of thinking. So that might have happened with some. The other possibility is some might think, oh, Scottish Family Party, they're better than those other 4 on the ballot paper in the constituency, but in the region, I actually prefer another small party. So that might have happened as well. Numbers, we've got no idea, but they're the two lines of thinking we assume voters have gone along there. So we then thought, maybe it's actually like this. So you get a number of people vote in the constituency, and then some of those people also vote for you on the regional list. Now, I'm sure you're a step ahead of me there, and you realise that isn't actually the situation. The situation is actually this. So some people vote for us on the constituency, some people vote for us on the regional list, and some people do both. Because we also know that some people have said, we gave you our second vote. So they didn't vote for us in the constituency, even though they could have done, but then voted for us on the regional list. So we know we got 16,000 votes on the list, but we know for a fact that another 1,000 people voted for the Family Party in constituencies who didn't vote for us on the regional list. So how many people voted for us in the constituency and not on the list? We've got no way of actually telling. So it might be that there was another 1,000 people who voted for the Scottish Family Party, but definitely 17,000 people put a cross next to the Scottish Family Party on their ballot paper in this election. Overall percentage, that made 0.6%. To give you a rough guide, 0.78% under proportional representation would be enough to justify an MSP. That would be, there's 129 MSPs, so if you get 1/129th of the vote under proportional representation, then you would get an MSP. I would say if it was proportional representation, more people would have been more willing to vote for the family party because they'd think, we really are in with a serious chance here, we're going to get someone elected. So I would be fairly confident if we did have proportional representation, then I would have been elected as an MSP in this election. But the system as it is, you need a minimum of about 5% to be in with a chance of getting an MSP elected. So we've got a long way to go, but it's a good start and we're going to grow and grow. Right, how about our performance relative to parties of a similar size to ourselves? Let's start with the Reform Party. It used to be the Brexit Party. It's got much more name recognition. It's bigger. It's got more resources. It had an MSP going into the election, and we got 3 times as many votes as them. So that's pretty impressive. The Freedom Alliance, they were another sort of anti-lockdown party. The lockdown, coronavirus, that's been the dominating news story. I don't know about you, it seems like social media is full of people complaining about lockdown. So the Freedom Alliance, they've got the main issue of the day, apart from the Constitution, on their side. How did they do? Well, same. We got 3 times as many votes as them. UKIP, much better name recognition than the Scottish Family Party. We got more than 3 times as many votes as them, a lot more. Abolish the Scottish Parliament, Libertarians, same, 3 times as many votes as any of them. Reform and UKIP got significantly more media coverage than us, but it didn't help. We outgunned them on polling day. Now, a bit of a lesson from this election. As I say, on social media, it seemed like there was an army of anti-lockdown campaigners. There were these mass anti-lockdown rallies. And I really thought these parties that just presented themselves as anti-lockdown, I thought, surely, they're going to do pretty well. Didn't happen. The Scottish Libertarians had Count Dankula, the Nazi pug salute comedian fella, standing as a candidate, and he also was promoting the party more generally, obviously. His social media reach is enormous. He's got a second channel that's got, I can't remember, there are tens and tens of thousands of subscribers and tens of thousands of people watching videos he makes on Scottish politics. So you'd think that's going to have a real impact. He got 254 votes, I think it was, in his constituency. The Scottish Libertarians overall, we got 3 times as many votes as them. The All for Unity, or Alliance for Unity, George Galloway's lot, they've got 25,000 followers on Twitter, but they didn't get that many votes. So I think we've really got to realise that social media is not a reflection of the electorate. The vast majority of the electorate is just in a totally different world. That they're just catching a bit of BBC News here and there. And that's the audience that we need to try and reach more and more. So in terms of All for Unity and Alba, we got 16,000, All for Unity got 23,000, Alba got 45,000. So in Scottish politics, if we look at the leagues, basically, there's the SNP who's in a league of one. Labour and Conservatives are in the league below that. Lib Dems and Greens are in the league below that. They're sort of scraping a few MSPs in regions. And then the league below that is Alba, All for Unity and the Scottish Family Party. The Scottish Family Party beat All for Unity in the Highlands. We beat Alba in some constituencies on the regional vote. So I think that's the grouping we're in. Overall, looking at this election, I think it's quite clear that the system is broken. Tactical voting is becoming more and more extreme on the constituency and the list, and the current system also serves to keep out smaller parties who deserve representation based on their vote share. And the other thing, the Hunt system with the 2 votes, I think the vast majority of people in Scotland don't really understand it. I just came across these statistics today to illustrate that. Alex Cole-Hamilton, Edinburgh Western, Lib Dem candidate, his majority increased by 10,000 in this election. Massive increase in support. So why was that? Was it that his campaign was so brilliant? Was it that people see that the Lib Dem policies are just what we need? No. It's just the people in Edinburgh Western have thought, right, we want to keep the SNP out, so we're going to vote Lib Dem, so let's all vote Lib Dem, and that's what's happened. I mean, the Lib Dems could have said, our policy is to tear babies limb from limb just before they're born, and they still would have got elected. Well, actually, that is their policy, and they still got elected. But with tactical voting in the constituency, that sort of makes sense. There's a logic there, even though it results in people voting for parties that don't reflect their views. But then if you look at the regional list vote in the different constituencies in Edinburgh, they go like this. One constituency, 3,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,000, 3,500. Then you get to Edinburgh Western, 12,000. I mean, what is going on there? I think it's apparent. What's happening is people have got the message. If you live in Edinburgh Western, you need to vote Lib Dem to keep the SNP out. So that's what people do. They vote Lib Dem to keep the SNP out in the constituency, which makes sense, and on the list as well, which makes no sense. It's as though thousands of people don't understand the way the system worked. Now, to confirm my suspicion, if you look at Edinburgh Southern, where there's massive tactical voting to keep the Labour man in, to keep the SNP out. Again, if you look at the list, the regional list, Labour far, far higher in Edinburgh Southern than they are in any other Edinburgh constituency. So again, I assume it's this confusion. They've just got the message. Right, Edinburgh Southern, you have to vote Labour to keep the SNP out, so they vote Labour on the list. But another interesting little story from this election, I don't know if you've picked up on this, a party called Independent Green Voice that doesn't actually exist. It's not a party. I think they maybe had a Twitter account, but they registered with the Electoral Commission, got themselves on the ballot paper, and the strategy was to put a party with a great big word green in the middle of their logo higher up the ballot paper than the Scottish Green Party in order to get Green voters to vote for it by mistake. And they've been reasonably successful in that, and it looks like they've cost the Green Party 2 MSPs. Okay, it's that serious. I think the Electoral Commission shouldn't have allowed it. Now, obviously, it's tempting to say anything that reduces the number of Green MSPs must be a good thing. But it's not a good thing because it's basically dishonest and it shouldn't have been allowed, and I can quite understand the Greens being very aggrieved about it. But the way to avoid these problems in general, we've got to have proportional representation to see what people really want. So at the moment, when people vote Green, do they like the Greens' policies, or are they just playing the system to get more independents supporting MSPs elected? When someone votes Conservative or Labour or Lib Dem, at the moment we don't know which one they really prefer, because they might just be voting to keep the SNP out. So proportional representation, everyone can vote for what they believe in, and you can have a proper representation of opinions in the Parliament. If we had proportional representation, George Galloway would be in the Parliament, Alex Salmond would, and probably with a sidekick. And then there's a pretty decent chance that I would be as well. So what's next for the Scottish Family Party? Is council elections next year. That's a real target for us. We want to get some councillors elected. We'll be outlining our plans soon. Maybe you see yourself as a councillor. Well, put yourself forward. Michael Willis, our chairman, is going to be masterminding that project, which will be underway soon. We're looking forward to starting meetings again around the country. It'd be good to see a lot of you face to face again, and a lot of the new people to meet you for the first time. We've got some other plans as well that will unfold over the coming months. We've had lots of new members of the Scottish Family Party during the election campaign, which has been absolutely brilliant, and just after the election campaign as well. So do join them, do sign up and become a member if you'd like to support our work and to get involved in any way at all. Just to finish off with thanks for our election campaign. Thanks to Michael Willis, our chairman, did a lot of work in lots of areas. Phil Holden and Don Marshall both worked on the website, producing what's there today, which I think is excellent. Phil and Don have worked on a lot of other things as well. All of our candidates have really put the hours in. I know it's a challenging experience, but they've risen to it fantastically, so thanks to them. Thanks to my wife, Mary, as well as supporting me. She's also the party membership secretary, which has been a pretty busy job recently with lots of donations and new members coming in. Quick word of thanks to Stephen Carter, who helped us get in our party election broadcast into the right format and editing whatever for the BBC. That was invaluable. Thanks to all our donors and supporters. And of course, the biggest thanks goes to our 17,000 voters. All right, thanks for watching.